Captain Vexandra felt the familiar tingle as her body came out of deep sleep. The hibernation chamber hissed open, releasing 500,000 years of dreams. She floated in the zero gravity of her ship, stretching muscles that had been frozen for longer than most civilizations existed. The Kethmori exploration vessel, Eternal Seeker, had traveled far from home. Their mission was simple: return to the small yellow star they had visited long ago and check on the primitive creatures they had found there. Back then, the hairy bipeds had been barely more than animals, hitting rocks together and grunting at each other. Vexandra's people were patient. They had to be. The Kethmori lived for millions of years, so waiting 500,000 to see how a species developed was like waiting a few days for most others. They had done this survey mission thousands of times across the galaxy. Most worlds stayed exactly the same. Sometimes the creatures went extinct. Very rarely they might discover fire or basic tools. She pressed a scaled hand against the wall panel. The ship's computer came alive, its gentle voice filling the chamber. "Welcome back, Captain. We have arrived at Sol 3, the third planet of the target system. Initial scans are unusual." Vexandra frowned. Her species had 4 eyes, so her frowns looked more serious than most. "Define unusual." "The electromagnetic readings are far beyond expected parameters. The planet appears to be active." That was strange. When they had left, the loudest thing on the planet was probably thunder. Vexandra pulled herself through the ship's corridors to the observation deck. Her crew was already waking up, confused voices echoing through the halls. The view screen showed a blue-green world, just as beautiful as she remembered. But something was very wrong. Bright spots of light covered the dark side of the planet like a disease. Strange geometric patterns stretched across the continents, and space around the planet was busy. "Computer, magnify the orbital region." The screen zoomed in. Vexandra's 4 eyes widened in shock. Hundreds of artificial objects moved around the planet. Some were huge, spinning slowly like metal flowers. Others zipped between them with purpose and speed. Radio signals filled the space with constant chatter. "This cannot be correct," she whispered. Her first officer, Commander Zekthol, floated up beside her. His skin had turned the pale blue color that meant confusion in their species. "Captain, the computer must be malfunctioning. These readings show a spacefaring civilization." "Run full diagnostics on all systems," Vexandra ordered. "Check our star charts. Make sure we're in the right system." They waited. The computer hummed and clicked as it checked itself. Finally, it spoke again. "All systems functioning normally. Star position confirmed. This is Sol system, 3rd planet. Current date is 2157 by the local calendar." Vexandra felt her stomach drop. She had been an explorer for 3 million years. She had seen the rise and fall of 100 species, but she had never seen anything like this. "Commander, bring up our old survey data." The screen split in 2. On one side was the current Earth, bright with lights and activity. On the other was their ancient recording. A brown and green world with no signs of civilization. The most advanced life they had detected was small groups of primitive humans living in caves and hunting with pointed sticks. "Computer, how long ago was our last survey?" 500,000 Earth years ago, Captain." The bridge fell silent. Even for the Kethmori, who measured time in millions of years, this was impossible. Their own species had taken 50 million years to develop spaceflight. The galactic average was 30 million years. Yet these humans had done it in 500,000. "Captain," called Lieutenant Mordiz from the communication station, "I'm detecting signals from the planet. They're on thousands of different frequencies. The complexity is incredible." Vexandra moved to the communication station. The displays showed wave patterns dancing across multiple screens. Each line represented a different signal. There were so many that they looked like rain. "Are they trying to contact us?" "No, Captain. These appear to be internal communications. They're talking to each other, all across the planet and to their orbital structures. The amount of information being transmitted every second is greater than our entire database." Another crew member called out from the sensor station. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. Industrial activity on every continent. And Captain, I think I'm detecting fusion reactions." "Fusion?" Vexandra's voice cracked. "You mean they have fusion power?" "Yes, Captain. Hundreds of sources. Maybe thousands." Vexandra closed her 4 eyes and tried to think. In all her years of exploration, she had never encountered a species that developed this fast. It violated everything they knew about evolution and technological development. Sir, the sensor officer continued, there's something else. I'm detecting artificial gravity fields on several of the orbital structures. And some kind of energy shield around the planet. Energy shield? Yes, Captain. It's very subtle, but it's there. Like they're protecting themselves from something. The implications hit Vexandra like a meteor. These humans hadn't just developed technology. They had developed defenses. That meant they expected threats. That meant they might see the Keth Mori as a threat. Commander, what's our military assessment of these humans? Zekthol's skin turned darker blue. Captain, based on these readings, they could probably destroy our ship without effort. Their energy output suggests weapons that could crack a moon. Vexandra stared at the planet that had changed everything. 500,000 years ago, the most dangerous thing on Earth was probably a saber-toothed cat. Now it was home to a species that had mastered fusion power, artificial gravity, and planetary defense systems. Captain, the communications officer said quietly, I think they know we're here. What do you mean? Several of their orbital platforms have changed course. They're moving in our direction. And Captain, they're accelerating at speeds that should kill any biological crew. Vexandra felt fear creep up her spine. Her species was ancient and wise. They had explored the galaxy for millions of years. They had cataloged thousands of species and guided many to civilization. But they had never encountered anything like this. Options, Commander? We could retreat, jump to hyperspace and pretend this never happened. Vexandra considered it. It would be the safe choice. But she was an explorer at heart. This was the discovery of a lifetime. Maybe of a million lifetimes. No, she said finally. We came here to make contact. That's what we're going to do. Captain, are you sure? We have no idea what these humans are capable of. Vexandra looked at the beautiful blue world spinning below them. Somewhere down there, the descendants of the cave dwellers they had observed were now building starships and wielding the power of suns. Open a channel. Standard first contact protocols. Let's see what humanity has become. As the communications officer began broadcasting, Vexandra couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change, not just for her crew but for the entire galaxy. The humans had been quiet for 500,000 years, developing in isolation. Now they were ready to say hello. And Vexandra was starting to think that might be the most terrifying thing in the universe. The communications array on the Eternal Seeker began broadcasting the standard Keth Mori first contact message. It was a simple mathematical sequence followed by basic images showing peaceful intent. They had used this same message for thousands of species across the galaxy. It always worked. Broadcasting on primitive radio frequencies, Lieutenant Mordiz reported. The signal should be easy for them to detect and understand. Captain Vexandra nodded. She expected to wait days or weeks for a response. Primitive species needed time to notice the signal, decode it, and figure out how to respond. Sometimes it took years. The response came in 37 seconds. Captain, Mordiz's voice was filled with shock. We're receiving a reply. Multiple replies. They're coming from all over the planet and from their orbital platforms. What do they say? They're speaking to us in our own language. The bridge fell silent. Vexandra felt her 4 hearts skip beats. That's impossible. Play the message. A new voice filled the bridge. It was strange coming from a throat not designed for Keth Mori speech, but the words were clear. Greetings, visitors from the stars. This is Earth Defense Command. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. Be advised that your vessel has been scanned and cataloged. Welcome to Sol System. Commander Zekthol's skin turned bright yellow with fear. Captain, they learned our language in 30 seconds. How is that possible? Before Vexandra could answer, another message arrived. This time the voice was different, more relaxed. Hello there. This is Dr. Sarah Chen, representing the United Earth government. We've been expecting visitors for some time. Would you like to come aboard our station for talks? We have prepared facilities that should accommodate your biology. Vexandra stared at the communication screen. They know our biology? Captain, the sensor officer called out. I'm detecting movement. Several human vessels have appeared on our sensors. They weren't there a moment ago. Appeared? From where? I don't know, sir. They just materialized, like they were invisible. The main screen showed space around their ship. It looked empty. Then, like ghosts becoming solid, 5 human ships faded into view. They were sleek and dark, shaped like arrows. They moved with impossible grace, positioning themselves around the Keth Mori vessel. Stealth technology. Vexandra whispered. They were watching us the entire time. A new communication arrived. The same Dr. Chen spoke again. Sorry about the surprise. Standard first contact security protocol. Your ship is quite impressive, by the way. We haven't seen biomechanical hull construction like that before. Very elegant. Vexandra felt the universe tilting around her. These humans were commenting on Kethmori technology like they were discussing the weather. Her species had perfected biomechanical hulls over millions of years of development. Captain? Zekthol whispered. What do? We follow protocol, she said, though her voice shook. Open a channel. This is Captain Vexandra of the Kethmori exploration vessel Eternal Seeker. We come in peace to make contact with your species. Dr. Chen's reply was almost instant. Wonderful. We're honored to meet the Kethmori. We've heard about your species from our other contacts in the galaxy. Your reputation as peaceful explorers is well known. The bridge erupted in confused voices. Other contacts? The humans had met other species. Dr. Chen, Vexandra said carefully, what other contacts? Oh, the usual neighbors. The Vorthan Empire, the Crystalline Collective, the Hive Worlds. We've been part of the galactic community for about 200 years now. I'm surprised you haven't heard of us. Vexandra's mind reeled. The Vorthan Empire was one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. The Crystalline Collective was so advanced that even the Kethmori approached them with respect. The Hive Worlds controlled a quarter of the galaxy, and the humans talked about them like old friends. Captain, Mordez called out. I'm receiving technical specifications from the human vessel. They're offering to adjust our environmental systems for the meeting. They know our environmental needs? Yes, sir. Down to the exact atmospheric composition and gravity requirements. Dr. Chen's voice continued. We've prepared Conference Station Omega for our meeting. It's about 2 million kilometers from your current position. Our ships will escort you if that's acceptable. Vexandra looked at the human vessels surrounding them. They were smaller than the Eternal Seeker, but they moved with the confidence of apex predators. She had the uncomfortable feeling that her ancient exploration ship was completely outmatched. We accept your invitation, she said. The journey to the human station was the longest 2 hours of Vexandra's life. The human ships moved in perfect formation around them, their pilots demonstrating a level of skill that spoke of centuries of experience. Their vessels left no exhaust trail, made no sound, and seemed to bend space around them as they moved. Conference Station Omega was a masterpiece of engineering. It looked like a crystal flower growing in space, all curves and flowing lines. As they approached, Vexandra could see gardens inside the transparent sections. Trees and waterfalls in space, kept alive by technology she couldn't begin to understand. Captain, the sensor officer said quietly, the station is generating its own gravity field, and it's bigger than it looks. The internal space is expanded somehow. Spatial manipulation, Zekthol breathed. They've mastered dimensional engineering. The docking process was flawless. Human technicians guided their ship into a berth that seemed designed specifically for Kethmori vessels. As the docking clamps engaged, Vexandra realized that the humans had studied their technology in detail. The airlock opened to reveal a human woman in simple blue clothing. She was small and delicate-looking, with dark hair and kind eyes. This had to be Dr. Chen. Welcome to Earth space, Captain Vexandra, she said, speaking perfect Kethmori. I hope your journey was comfortable. Vexandra stepped through the airlock, her 4 eyes taking in everything. The corridor was beautiful, with plants growing along the walls and soft light coming from everywhere and nowhere. The air smelled of flowers and rain. Dr. Chen, your station is remarkable. Thank you. We tried to make it welcoming for all our galactic neighbors. The atmospheric controls can adjust for over 300 different species requirements. As they walked, Vexandra noticed security cameras that weren't cameras. Defense systems that didn't look like weapons. Everything was hidden behind beauty and gentleness, but the message was clear. The humans were ready for anything. Dr. Chen, if I may ask, how long has your species been traveling in space? Oh, about 500 years now. We started slow, but once we got the hang of it, things moved pretty quickly. 500 years. The Kethmori had taken 50 million years to reach the same level. Vexandra felt like she was walking through a dream. They entered a conference room with a view of space that took Vexandra's breath away. Earth hung in the distance like a blue jewel, surrounded by a constellation of human structures. Please sit, Dr. Chen said, gesturing to a chair that was exactly the right size and shape for Kethmori anatomy. We have much to discuss. As Vexandra sat down, she realized that first contact hadn't gone wrong. It had gone perfectly. For the humans, she was no longer the advanced explorer meeting a primitive species. She was the primitive species. And she was about to learn just how far behind her people really were. Dr. Sarah Chen poured tea from a delicate pot, the liquid steaming in the artificial gravity of Conference Station Omega. Captain Vexandra watched the simple ritual with fascination. The human moved with calm precision, as if serving tea to aliens was something she did every day. "I hope you don't mind," Dr. Chen said, "but we took the liberty of analyzing your ship's atmospheric readings. This tea blend should be safe for your biology and might even be pleasant." Vexandra accepted the cup carefully. The liquid was golden and smelled like flowers from her homeworld. She sipped it cautiously, then blinked all four eyes in surprise. It was delicious and somehow familiar. "How did you know what would taste good to us?" "We have good databases," Dr. Chen replied with a smile. "Your species has a reputation for appreciating complex flavors." Commander Zekthol leaned forward. "Dr. Chen, we must ask. Our records show that when we last visited Earth, your species was barely using tools. How did you develop so quickly?" Dr. Chen set down her teacup. "That's an interesting question. I suppose you could say we've always been good at solving problems. When we encounter obstacles, we tend to find ways around them rather quickly." Vexandra decided to take a more direct approach. Following standard Kethmori protocol for primitive species, she would demonstrate their advanced technology and establish their civilization's superiority. This would make the humans more receptive to guidance and cultural exchange. "Dr. Chen, with your permission, I would like to show you some of our technological achievements. Perhaps we can help your species advance more rapidly." Dr. Chen's smile grew wider. "That sounds wonderful. We'd love to see what you've accomplished." Vexandra activated her personal display device. A holographic image appeared above the conference table, showing the Eternal Seeker in cutaway view. "Our ship is powered by controlled fusion reactions," she explained proudly. "We can sustain these reactions for thousands of years, providing unlimited clean energy." Dr. Chen nodded appreciatively. "Fusion is such an elegant solution. We went through a similar phase about 300 years ago." "Went through?" Zekthol asked. "Oh yes, fusion served us well, but we've since moved on to more efficient methods, zero-point energy extraction primarily. We tap directly into the quantum foam now, much cleaner, and the energy output is essentially unlimited." Vexandra felt her confidence waver. Zero-point energy was theoretical even for the Kethmori. "You've mastered quantum energy extraction?" "It took some doing," Dr. Chen admitted. "The initial prototypes had a tendency to create small black holes. Very embarrassing when that happened during testing." Vexandra quickly changed the subject. "Our artificial gravity systems allow us to create Earth-normal conditions anywhere in space." She gestured around the station. "Though I see you've developed similar technology." "Similar, yes," Dr. Chen agreed. "Though our current systems work a bit differently, we learned to manipulate gravitons directly, rather than using rotation or acceleration. It's more versatile." She waved her hand casually. Suddenly, Vexandra felt herself gently lifted from her chair and rotated slowly in the air. A moment later, she was placed carefully back down. "Graviton manipulation allows for very precise control," Dr. Chen explained, as if she hadn't just casually violated the laws of physics. Zekthol's skin had turned deep blue with shock. "That's impossible. Gravitons are barely theoretical particles." "Oh, they're real enough," Dr. Chen said cheerfully. "Tricky little things to work with, but once you get the hang of it, very useful." Vexandra decided to try something else. "Our biomechanical hull technology allows our ships to heal themselves when damaged." This was the Kethmori's greatest achievement, developed over millions of years. "Self-repairing hulls," Dr. Chen mused. "Yes, we went through that phase too. Very practical. Our current ships use something we call programmable matter. The hull can reconfigure itself for different purposes." She touched a panel on the wall. Through the transparent sections of the station, they could see one of the human escort ships. As they watched, the vessel's shape began to change. The sleek aeroform melted and reformed into a completely different configuration. "Useful for different environments," Dr. Chen explained. "Ocean worlds, gas giants, plasma fields. The ship adapts to whatever it encounters." Vexandra was running out of demonstrations. She decided to try their most advanced technology. Our quantum computers allow us to process information at speeds impossible with conventional systems. Quantum computing is a good foundation, Dr. Chen agreed. We found that combining quantum processing with biological neural networks gave us much better results. Our current systems use cloned brain tissue integrated with quantum matrices. She gestured to the air. A holographic display appeared, showing streams of data flowing through what looked like living tissue connected to crystalline structures. The biological components handle intuition and creative problem-solving, while the quantum elements manage pure calculation. It's almost like having a living mind that can think at the speed of light. Zekthol was now bright yellow with fear. You've created artificial minds. Not artificial, Dr. Chen corrected gently. Enhanced. We don't build our computers, we grow them. Vexandra played her final card. Our greatest achievement is consciousness transfer technology. We can move a being's mind from one body to another, achieving a form of immortality. For the first time, Dr. Chen looked genuinely impressed. Now that's interesting. We've been working on similar projects. Relief flooded through Vexandra. Finally, something the humans hadn't mastered. The thing is, Dr. Chen continued, we approach it differently. Rather than transferring consciousness, we learn to prevent death in the first place. Full biological immortality, with the option to enhance or modify the body as needed. She rolled up her sleeve, revealing what looked like normal human skin. Then she pressed her finger against a sharp edge on the table. The skin parted, showing something that definitely wasn't blood. Nanobiological enhancement, she explained as the cut healed instantly. Every cell in my body has been optimized. Disease, aging, injury, all things of the past. Death became optional for humanity about 300 years ago. The room fell silent. Vexandra stared at the human woman who had casually demonstrated that her species had conquered death itself. Dr. Chen, she said slowly, what else can your people do? Dr. Chen refilled their teacups. Oh, all sorts of things. We've terraformed a few dozen worlds, established colonies in other galaxies, solved the energy crisis, eliminated scarcity, ended war among our own species, and learned to communicate with virtually any form of life we encounter. She paused thoughtfully. Last month, our scientists figured out how to reverse entropy in closed systems. That was a fun breakthrough. Vexandra felt the last of her confidence crumble. Everything the Kethmori considered advanced technology, the humans had surpassed centuries ago. Her species had spent millions of years reaching achievements that humans had improved upon and discarded. Captain, Zekthol whispered in their native language, what have we stumbled into? Before Vexandra could answer, Dr. Chen spoke up in the same language. You've stumbled into the neighbors you didn't know you had. She switched back to standard galactic common. The thing is, Captain, we've been aware of your species for quite some time. We've been aware of most galactic civilizations. We just chose to develop quietly until we were ready to join the larger community. Ready? Vexandra asked weakly. Ready to be helpful rather than helpless, Dr. Chen explained. We learned long ago that entering galactic society too early can be dangerous for a young species. So we waited until we had something to contribute. She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. The universe is a dangerous place, Captain. There are things out there that would terrify even the ancient civilizations, things that have been waiting in the dark between galaxies. Dr. Chen turned back to them. Humanity spent 500,000 years preparing for those threats. Now we're ready. Vexandra realized with growing horror that the demonstration wasn't over. It was just beginning. And she was starting to understand that humanity wasn't asking to join galactic civilization. They were offering to protect it. Captain Vexandra couldn't sleep. The quarters that Dr. Chen had provided aboard Conference Station Omega were perfect for Kethmori biology, down to the exact atmospheric pressure and humidity levels. The bed was comfortable, the temperature ideal, and the lighting matched the spectrum of her home star, but her mind wouldn't rest. She floated to the window and stared out at Earth. The blue world turned slowly in space, its surface covered with lights that spelled out humanity's conquest of their own planet. But it was what Dr. Chen had said that kept echoing in her thoughts. The universe is a dangerous place. There are things out there that would terrify even the ancient civilizations. What did the humans know that the rest of the galaxy didn't? Unable to rest, Vexandra made her way to the station's library. Dr. Chen had mentioned it during the tour, saying that humans believed knowledge should be shared freely. The library was vast, its holographic displays containing more information than the entire Kethmori database. She began with human history. What she found made her wish she had never looked. The records started 500,000 years ago, just after the Kethmori had left Earth. The early entries were simple: tribes hunting, gathering, slowly developing language and tools. Normal, primitive development. Then came the first crisis. A massive volcanic eruption had covered half the planet in ash. Global temperatures dropped. Most life died. The human population fell to less than 10,000 individuals. Any other species would have gone extinct. Humans adapted. They learned to hunt different animals, eat different plants, live in caves for generations until the sky cleared. When they emerged, they were stronger, smarter, more organized. Bexandra kept reading. Crisis after crisis struck the human species. Ice ages, diseases, natural disasters, wars. Each time they came close to extinction. Each time they survived and grew stronger. The pattern was terrifying. Humans didn't just survive disasters. They learned from them. A plague that killed millions led to medical advances. Wars drove technological innovation. Even their own mistakes became stepping stones to greater achievements. The records showed humanity's development accelerating with each crisis. Agriculture, writing, mathematics, engineering, each breakthrough came faster than the last. By the time they discovered fire, they were already dreaming of reaching the stars. But the real horror began when humans discovered they weren't alone. The first contact wasn't with the Kethmori or any known galactic civilization. It was with something else, something the records called the Harvesters. Bexandra had never heard of them, but the human database contained detailed files. The Harvesters were an ancient race that traveled between galaxies, consuming entire worlds for resources. They had destroyed civilizations that existed before the current galactic order. They had come to Earth 3,000 years ago. The invasion lasted 6 months. When it was over, the Harvesters were extinct. Bexandra read the battle reports with growing terror. Humanity had been primitive by galactic standards, barely achieving spaceflight, but they had fought with a combination of cunning, ruthlessness, and pure determination that shocked their invaders. The humans had learned Harvester technology during the battle, reverse-engineered it, improved it, and turned it against its creators. In 6 months, they had gone from defending one planet to hunting Harvesters across multiple star systems. The final human report was simple: threat eliminated. Salvage teams are analyzing Harvester technology for integration into our defensive systems. That was when humanity's real development began. Using Harvester technology as a foundation, humans had advanced at an impossible pace, faster than light travel, energy weapons, artificial intelligence, genetic engineering. They had mastered in decades what took other species millions of years, but they didn't stop there. The database showed contact with other hostile species. The Void Walkers, who existed partially outside normal spacetime. The Machine Collective, self-replicating robots that consumed entire star systems. The Psychic Dominion, beings of pure mental energy who enslaved other species. All extinct now, all destroyed by humanity. Each victory taught humans something new. Voidwalker technology led to dimensional manipulation. The Machine Collective provided the basis for programmable matter. The Psychic Dominion's defeat gave humans mental enhancement capabilities. Humanity hadn't just survived in a dangerous universe. They had hunted down every threat and made it part of themselves. Bexandra found herself shaking as she read. Her species thought of themselves as ancient and wise, but humans had fought wars against enemies the Kethmori couldn't even imagine. While the galactic civilizations developed slowly and peacefully, humanity had been forged in constant conflict. The most terrifying part was how casual the records were. Genocide of entire species was described in the same tone as weather reports. The complete destruction of civilizations that spanned hundreds of star systems was noted with scientific detachment. Threat assessment: moderate. Response: full species elimination. Duration: 3 days. Casualties: 7 humans injured. Technology acquired: bio-neural interfaces, quantum entanglement communication arrays. 7 humans injured while destroying a civilization. She found records of humanity's first contact with known galactic species. The Vorthon Empire had discovered Earth 200 years ago, and attempted to establish dominance according to their usual protocols. The war lasted 4 hours. The Vorthan Empire, which controlled 1,000 star systems and considered itself the military pinnacle of the galaxy, had been completely defeated before they understood what was happening. Human ships had appeared in Vorthan space simultaneously across hundreds of worlds, delivering a simple message: "We are humanity. You attacked our territory. Surrender now or face extinction." The Vorthan surrendered immediately, the same pattern repeated with every major galactic power. The Crystalline Collective, the Hive Worlds, the Trade Federation, all had tested humanity's strength. All had been defeated so quickly and decisively that they immediately sued for peace. But the most chilling discovery was what humanity had been preparing for. Deep in the database, Vexandra found files marked with the highest security clearances. Long-range sensor data showing something moving in the void between galaxies, something vast and ancient approaching at a significant fraction of light speed. The files called it the Devourer. It was old, older than the current galaxy. It had consumed entire galactic clusters, leaving nothing but empty space where billions of civilizations once thrived. And it was coming here. Humanity had known about it for 300 years. Everything they had done, every technology they had developed, every war they had fought, had been preparation for this single threat. The database showed humanity's preparations. Entire star systems converted into fortress worlds, weapons that could crack planets, shields that could deflect black holes, ships that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. An entire species transformed into a military force, capable of fighting something that ate galaxies. Vexandra closed the files and sat in stunned silence. She finally understood what Dr. Chen had meant. Humanity hadn't been developing slowly in isolation. They had been preparing for war against something that terrified beings who consumed stars for breakfast, and they had been doing it for centuries. The gentle humans she had met, with their tea and flowers and polite conversation, were the same species that had hunted cosmic horrors across multiple galaxies. Dr. Chen, who had served tea with steady hands, was probably old enough to have personally fought in wars that ended civilizations. A soft chime indicated someone was approaching. Vexandra turned to see Dr. Chen entering the library carrying 2 cups of tea. "Couldn't sleep either?" the human asked gently. "I thought you might want to talk." Vexandra stared at her. This small, delicate woman who moved like a dancer and spoke like a diplomat. Now that she knew what to look for, she could see it. The perfect posture that spoke of military training. Eyes that constantly assessed threats. Hands that never moved without purpose. "You're not really a diplomat, are you?" Vexandra whispered. Dr. Chen smiled sadly. "I'm many things, Captain. Diplomat, scientist, teacher." She paused. "Soldier when necessary. How old are you?" "Old enough to remember when we thought we were alone in the universe. Old enough to have learned better." Dr. Chen sat down beside her. "You've been reading our history. I can see it in your expression. You're wondering how we became what we are." "I'm wondering if we should run," Vexandra said honestly. "From us? No need. We're not your enemy, Captain. We never have been." Dr. Chen sipped her tea. "But you're right to be frightened." "Just not of us," she gestured toward the stars. "Something is coming, Captain. Something that will test every species in this galaxy. When it arrives, you'll want humanity on your side." Vexandra felt cold despite the perfect environmental controls. "What's coming?" "The end of everything," Dr. Chen said quietly. "Unless we stop it." The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of Captain Vexandra's priority transmission. Representatives from 1,000 species gathered in the ancient chamber of voices, their translators working overtime to convert the chaos of different languages into something resembling order. Council Speaker Thalvos, eldest of the Eternal Minds, called for silence with a thought that pressed against every consciousness in the chamber. The ancient being had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations for 10 million years. Nothing surprised him anymore. Until today. Captain Vexandra of the Kethmori has requested immediate emergency council. His voice echoed in every mind present. She claims to have made contact with a species that requires immediate diplomatic recognition. Murmurs filled the chamber. The Kethmori were known for their careful, methodical approach to first contact. For them to request emergency status was unprecedented. Vexandra's image appeared in the center of the chamber, transmitted from Conference Station Omega. She looked tired, her four eyes darting nervously around the assembled representatives. "Honored counselors," she began, "I stand before you to report contact with the species known as humanity, native to the Sol system." Representative Kexnar of the Vorthan Empire shifted uncomfortably. Several other delegates did the same. Talvos noticed but said nothing. "The humans claim to have achieved spaceflight approximately 500 years ago," Vexandra continued. "However, their technological capabilities far exceed anything in our current understanding of species development." Elder Sithara of the Trade Federation leaned forward. "Captain, surely you're mistaken. 500 years is barely enough time for a species to reach their own moon." "That's what I thought," Vexandra replied. "I was wrong." She activated her displays, showing the human fleet that had surrounded her ship. The assembled counselors fell silent as they watched vessels that seemed to bend space around them, moving in perfect formation. They possess graviton manipulation, zero-point energy extraction, programmable matter, biological immortality, and dimensional travel capabilities. They have conquered death itself and can apparently reverse entropy in closed systems. The chamber erupted in debate. Voices speaking in hundreds of languages created a din that the translators couldn't handle. Talvos imposed silence again. "Captain," he said carefully, "these claims are extraordinary. Do you have proof?" In response, space near the chamber suddenly changed. Reality rippled, and 3 human ships materialized where nothing had been moments before. They hung in space, near the council station, their dark hulls reflecting no light. Every defense system on the ancient station activated simultaneously. Warnings blared in dozens of languages. Shield generators that had protected the council for millions of years hummed to life. The human ships ignored all of it. Dr. Sarah Chen's voice filled the chamber, somehow bypassing all communication filters and speaking directly to every mind present in their native language. "Greetings, Galactic Council. We apologize for the dramatic entrance, but Captain Vexandra suggested we introduce ourselves properly." Talvos, who had remained calm through cosmic wars and the death of stars, felt something he hadn't experienced in eons: fear. "How did you penetrate our defenses?" he asked. "We didn't," Dr. Chen replied. "We simply arrived through methods your sensors weren't designed to detect. May we come aboard? We have much to discuss." Before anyone could object, Dr. Chen materialized in the chamber. Not transported, not teleported. She simply stepped out of empty air as if walking through a door. The council chamber fell into absolute silence. Dr. Chen looked around at the assembled representatives with the same calm expression she had shown Vexandra. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. We realize this is irregular, but time is somewhat limited." Representative Kexnar of the Vorthan Empire stood shakily. "Dr. Chen, I believe we have met before." "Indeed we have, Representative. I hope you've recovered from our previous encounter. We really didn't mean to be so abrupt, but you did fire on our exploration vessel." Kexnar's skin turned ashen. "That was 200 years ago. You can't possibly be the same individual. Death became optional for humanity some time ago, Doctor," Chen replied matter-of-factly. "I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a while." Elder Throck of the Hive World spoke up, his collective voice buzzing with confusion. "The humans have been known to us for centuries. They are strong, yes, but surely not as advanced as Captain Vexandra suggests." Dr. Chen smiled. "That's because we've been very careful about what we show you. We've found that revealing our full capabilities too quickly tends to make other species nervous." She gestured, and holographic displays filled the chamber. Images of human cities that spanned entire continents. Space stations the size of moons. Ships that dwarfed the largest vessels in the galactic fleet. "This is our home system today," Dr. Chen explained. "We've been somewhat busy." The displays showed Earth, but not the Earth that any galactic civilization knew. This was a world transformed. The entire planet was covered in gleaming cities that rose into space. Orbital rings circled the world like jewels. The moon had been completely converted into a single massive structure. We've also been expanding, Dr. Chen continued. The display zoomed out, showing the local galactic region. Red dots marked human colonies and outposts. There were thousands of them, spreading across space in a pattern that encompassed half the galaxy. We've been your neighbors for quite some time now. We just chose to be quiet neighbors. Counselor Yelthara of the Peaceful Collective spoke with a trembling voice. Why reveal yourselves now? Dr. Chen's expression grew serious. Because something is coming, and we're going to need everyone's help to stop it. The chamber displays changed, showing deep space sensor data. Something vast moved between the galaxies, larger than solar systems, older than most stars. The Devourer has been traveling toward our galaxy for 67 million years. It will arrive in approximately 50 Earth years. When it does, it will consume everything in its path. Thalvos felt ice in his ancient mind. What is this thing? The last survivor of the previous universal cycle, Dr. Chen explained. When the last universe died, it found a way to survive by consuming the energy of entire galaxies. It's been feeding on galactic clusters for eons. The display showed the thing's path of destruction. Galaxy after galaxy reduced to empty void, their stars and planets converted into dark energy to fuel the creature's existence. We've been preparing to fight it for 3 centuries, Dr. Chen continued. But we can't do it alone. When the Devourer arrives, every species in this galaxy will need to work together. Representative Zalkoran of the Ancient League laughed bitterly. And you think we can help? Our most advanced weapons barely scratch asteroids. You'd be surprised what you can accomplish with proper motivation and support, Dr. Chen replied. We're not asking you to fight the Devourer directly. We need you to survive long enough for us to kill it. The casual way she said it made the entire chamber fall silent again. You believe you can destroy something that has consumed galaxies? Thalvos asked. We've destroyed similar threats before, Dr. Chen said simply. The difference is scale. This will require the combined resources of every civilization in the galaxy. She activated new displays showing human military capabilities. Ships that moved faster than light without using hyperspace. Weapons that could collapse dimensions. Shields that existed in multiple realities simultaneously. We've spent 500,000 years preparing for this fight. We've turned our entire species into a military force. We've conquered death, mastered time, and learned to fight enemies that exist partially outside reality itself. Dr. Chen looked around the chamber. When the Devourer arrives, you'll have 2 choices: stand with humanity or feed it. The council chamber remained silent for long minutes. Finally, Thalvos spoke. What do you need from us? Recognition, Dr. Chen replied. Acknowledgement that humanity is now the dominant military power in this galaxy. When the crisis comes, we need to be able to act without political interference. And in return, protection. We'll defend every world, every species, every individual who stands with us, no matter the cost. Vexandra's transmission from earlier suddenly made perfect sense. Her final message replayed in Thalvos's mind. Recommend immediate diplomatic recognition of human territory. Under no circumstances should any species attempt conquest or uplifting protocols. They've been uplifting themselves. The vote was unanimous. As the council session ended and representatives began to disperse, Thalvos remained in his chamber. He had witnessed the rise of the greatest civilizations in galactic history. He had seen species reach heights of achievement that seemed impossible, but he had never seen anything like humanity. They hadn't just survived in a hostile universe. They had made themselves into the ultimate predator, and now they were offering to protect everyone else from something even worse. Outside the station, the 3 human ships faded back into invisibility. But everyone knew they were still there, watching, waiting, ready to face whatever came out of the dark between galaxies. The age of humanity had begun. Dr. Chen's final words echoed in every mind present. The universe is vast and dangerous, but you don't have to face it alone anymore.